Monday night again. We back, y'all. For another read. And this time, we'll be learning Topaz. Yeah, we see Topaz got his footing. Baby, Topaz did his thing. Now it's time to see where he gonna be at next. So y'all sit back, relax. Let's take this trip. Let's see what Topaz gonna get into now. If you haven't told your friend, go tell your friend. We over here reading, y'all. It's about to go down. Thank you to our author, Mr. James Colwell, aka Spilly Boy. Head on over to Amazon.com so you can get your books today. That's Amazon.com and search for Mr. James Colwell. We reading, y'all. Let's get this thing started. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. Share it with your friends. Come over and follow me on Instagram. Instagram.com/AlmondBrown09. Let's get this party started, y'all. Hi, and welcome to this week's Almond Delights Reading Corner. I am your girl, Miss Almond Brown. Y'all already know what yesterday gave, but we here today, so we're not going to sit up and harp on what happened on yesterday. I hope you guys have had a wonderful Tuesday. Monday. So I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. I hope you guys are relaxed and ready for this read. Now, I said we was going to finish the book, but I'm going to tell y'all, this next chapter has 50 pages, and that's just one chapter. And then it's 2 more chapters after that. So we'll see how we can get along, how far we're going to get or whatnot. But I may just give you guys the whole book so you guys don't have to wait all the way until next week. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you just really want me to finish this book. Let me know, okay? But I'm going to let you guys know what happened last week. So we know that Topaz boyfriend or ex-boyfriend almost was finna be again boyfriend. Talik had got shot and killed, right? And his brother Sharif was there, to console him, to hold him, to mold him and everything else. And then they slept together. I mean, like, rest on that. They slept together. Yeah, they was mourning, they was grieving and everything like that, but y'all slept together. So Topaz was becoming a little horror. So yeah, they slept together, and then they got to go to the funeral and everything. They wanted it to be a one-time thing because Sharif, he was questioning himself. He always found Topaz to be a little sexy, honey, but he said he's straight. We'll see. But we are going to be learning Topaz this week, honey. I don't know. Topaz was all innocent in the beginning, but now you done slept with this man's brother. I don't know, but we're going to get into it, okay? The next chapter in our Learning Topaz book is, wait a minute. What number chapter is this? Is this 5? Oh, don't judge me. Hold on real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we're on chapter 6, y'all. We're on chapter 6. Rest in peace. It seems as though the time flew by after Sharif left my house. And before I knew it, I was dressed and leaving for Old Tool's funeral home for the public viewing of Talik. I was really not feeling fashionable or confident for the first time in a very long time. I didn't even care what I looked like. I just wanted to get this over with. On the way there, I was sitting in the back seat of Papa J's car, and I was just very quiet. My mind was really all over the place. I just couldn't really focus at all. As we approached the street that the funeral home resides on, Mama J turned around and said, "Are you okay, Topaz?" I replied, "I think so. I guess we will see in a moment." Papa J said, "Be strong, son. Remember, you've got us and the Rudolphsons. We're all here for you. Your brother will be here as well. So you'll be surrounded by folks that you love." I didn't even focus on that last piece of that comment. I hadn't seen or spoken to Waleed since our argument. He sent me several text messages that I didn't respond to. I really have nothing to say to him, and especially not about Ty. Trust me. As we walked up to the building, I was feeling really anxious. There were a lot of people there. I didn't know them all. I guess a lot of them were the Rudolphson's family and friends. As we entered, I did see a few people that were familiar to me from several parties and events that Ty and I had gone to. They were very receptive and they waved hello. And one couple actually came up and said, "I'm so sorry. I know Ty was crazy about you. Keep your head up." Mama J leaned over and said, "That was very nice of them to say. Ty had some really upstanding friends, didn't he?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. They were always really nice to me." As we reached the doorway to the room that Ty was in, the first thing I saw was Mr. and Mrs. Rudolphson standing next to the doorway and Sharif sitting in a chair off to the side. My parents greeted them with hugs, and Mrs. Rudolphson told my parents, "We know this has been hard on your family as well, and it means so much that you will be here and bring Topaz to share his love for our son and our family. And how can I ever thank you for what you've done with Sharif? The time he spent with you yesterday has helped tremendously with him dealing with this. I don't know how I could ever repay you." And she began to weep. Mr. Rudolphson nodded in agreement as he comforted his wife. My mom said, "There is no need for that. We were in this together. I couldn't have dreamt up a better family to befriend our child. He loved you guys, and so do we, and there is nothing that we won't do to help you through this. You are good, strong parents, and you've been amazing through this trial. God sees and he knows his people, and he will always align us with each other." Mrs. Rudolphson grabbed Mama J in an embrace and said, "Bless you. Topaz said you always know what needs to be heard." I was just standing there and I could feel my knees becoming a little wobbly. It was all becoming a bit too real at this point. Mr. Rudolphson said, "Come over here, son, and give me some love. How are you feeling?" He pulled me over and embraced me. I was shaking like a leaf as I said, "I'm okay." I then went over to Sharif and said, "What's up?" He just looked up at me and said, "I can't do it, LT. I can't go in there and see him laying in that box." Tears welled up in his eyes as he grabbed a hold of both of my hands and said, "This is terrible. It's terrible. I'm upset at my parents because I can't get it together. What kind of man is that?" I said, "Reef, that's nonsense. Your parents aren't upset. They understand these things. They would never get upset with you about anything like this. And as far as you being a man, I have no questions about your manhood. And you shouldn't either." He looked up and gave a slight devilish grin. I said, "Now, I got your back and I'm standing here. Do you want to try going in there with me, or do you want to sit in here and I'll be right back?" He said, "I'm a man up and go with you. I can't let you go by yourself." He stood up and grabbed me by the hand. He turned toward our parents and he said, "Mr. Jesper, we got each other's back, and we're going in there to see my baby bro. Dad, it's time for me to man up. My bro is waiting to see me." Tears ran down Mr. Rudolphson's face as Sharif leaned over and kissed his mom on the cheek. He then said, "Mrs. Jesper, don't worry. I got him." He then kissed Mama J on the cheek. Papa J's eyes welled up as he put his fist up and said, "Very good, young man. Very good." Papa J then embraced Mama J. Both sets of parents watched intensely as we entered the room hand in hand, slowly, and approached the coffin where Talik's body lay, looking as much like an angel as I've ever seen him. You hear people say it, but he literally looked like he was in a peaceful sleep. I could feel Sharif's grip tightening as he wept. He said, "I couldn't save him, LT. I couldn't. I had tears, but strangely enough, I was standing strong on my 2 feet for a change. It was as though the grief wasn't enough to take me and Sharif down together. But one-on-one was a different ball game altogether. And every day I was dealing with the situation a little better. After about 20 minutes of standing there, Sharif shook my arm and said, "All right, I'm good. We can go." He looked over and said, "I love you, bro. I'm sorry, but I'm going to do right by him. I promise." I looked at Sharif. He cracked a half of a grin and he led me away from the coffin. As we approached the doorway, our parents had moved off to the side of the entrance. As soon as we emerged from the room, the first face I saw was Waleed. He just stared with an empty look as if he didn't know what to say. As I got closer, I focused in and seen Christine and Jeremy. I was not amused. Waleed came up and introduced himself, Christine and Jeremy, to Sharif and told him he was sorry about his loss. He then said, "Can I borrow my brother from you for a few moments?" Sharif said, "Absolutely, but don't be long. I want to introduce you to some of my cousins that are here from other places." Waleed said, "I won't keep him long, player. I will make it quick." I interrupted, "We'll make it quicker than that. I can talk to Waleed anytime. Reef, take me where we were. Now." Waleed's eyebrows raised up so high on his forehead, I thought they were going to touch his hairline. Christine looked puzzled. Jeremy had his normal, simple, smug look that he's perfected, and Sharif looked a little thrown off by how I shut Waleed down. But he listened and said, "I'm sorry, man. We won't be long." I followed Sharif's lead and went on to meet a few of his family members. Each one was pretty nice and welcoming and seemed to already know of my existence. It was a little awkward, but not in a creepy way. I could see Waleed and Jeremy's eyes following us throughout the room. I knew Waleed was becoming more and more irritated by the moment. But I didn't care. I couldn't imagine that there was anything that he had to say that I would be interested in. As the viewing winded down and the people began to slowly leave, I told Sharif, "I better grab my parents up. You know it's past their bedtime, and I didn't drive my car." He said, "If you're not ready to go, you don't have to, boo. I'll take you home later. I'd rather have you with me right now." I leaned my head slightly to the right and said, "Boo, seriously, Reef?" He said, "Don't do that. Go on over and let your peeps know that I'm going to drop you off a bit later." I didn't even argue. I just went over and explained to Mama and Papa J that I would be along later. Of course, Mama J responded, "Okay, baby, don't be too late. Running around with Mr. Sharif, he needs to get some rest too before the funeral tomorrow." I said, "Yes, ma'am." I walked with them to the car and seen them off. On my way back to the funeral to meet back up with Sharif, I ran into Waleed and Jeremy while they were going to Waleed's truck. Waleed immediately started in on me. "Oh, so you just didn't find time to talk to me at all? Is that what went on here, Eugene? Or is Eugene not around anymore? Because it seems that ever since your name changed, I don't know you no more." Pause. Disclaimer. There may be some cussing. Heavy on the disclaimer. Cussing, okay? I said, "Don't start with me, Waleed. I have nothing to say to you. You don't know how to talk to people, and I would not waste my time arguing with you. It's not worth it." He became very tense and said, "Bitch, you didn't even let me say anything. You don't know what I was going to say. I was trying to console you, but you think you all the shit all of a sudden. How are you the shit sitting around with the family of a nigga that didn't give a fuck about you?" I felt myself becoming very upset as I responded, "You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know nothing about what Ty and I shared. You disrespectful jerk. Where's your girlfriend at? You should occupy your time with her and your intentions for her." Jeremy chimed in. If he cares so much about you, how do we both have him? You are so fucking dumb." I spun around and said, "Come swallowing, bitch." Do you want me to pop you in your pie hole again? He responded, oh, bitch, don't get it fucked up. It won't go the same way as last time, and I owe you anyway. So don't get it fucked up. I stood firm and said, you heard what I said. You can dish out all the threats you want. But if you keep talking to me, I promise you, they will be needing to do a double ceremony tomorrow. So keep talking at your own risk. Jeremy went to say something else as Waleed interrupted him and said, shut the fuck up, Jay. I told you don't start that shit. You're never going to put your hands on him, and I told you that. So just shut the fuck up. T, you need to just stop with the shady bullshit. When I'm talking to you, you will listen. The same way that Christine does. You asked me where she was. She went to get the car for us like I told her to. She's obedient, just like you will be. Do you understand? He stood and looked at me like he was seriously waiting on an answer. After a moment, I said, what you need to understand is that I have nothing to say to either one of you. And all that trying to control me, please, you can kiss my ass and you can kiss my ass and bark at the hole. Child. With that, I walked away and left the two of them standing there. A few steps away, I could see Sharif awaiting my return. As I approached him, he said, all right, is everything okay with moms and pops? I said, yes, they are cool. They said for us not to stay out too long. He said, no problem. A few seconds later, a car came screeching up in front of the funeral home, and out jumps Nady with her and Ty's daughter. She ran up to Sharif and said, am I too late? Sharif shrugged his shoulders and said, I'm not sure. She stormed through the doors and into the funeral home. I looked at Reef and said, is she always this ridiculous? He shook his head and said, yes, and we both just chuckled. A short time later, Mr. Rudolphson came escorting Nady out of the building. She was becoming a little loud. How can they say that they aren't going to reopen the coffin for me and my daughter? That's bullshit, and you know it. He replied, Nady, I have told you time after time, I am not the one for all the smart talking and yelling. I don't like it, and it's disrespectful. And this is not the time for all of that. She stopped on the steps, stared at me, and said, being as though we are saying what's not needed, why is he here? Sharif chimed in. He has just as much right to be here as you do. She yelled, Sharif, shut up. You don't know nothing. You always trying to add your bullshit and nobody gives a shit. Sharif's eyes got extremely big and his eyebrows raised up really high as he said, Nady, you smut. I will choke you out. If you say one more thing smart to any member of this family, I swear on my brother, I'm going to take you out. She just stood there for a moment looking very combative. Then she responded, I don't know why I ever involved myself with this weird ass family. Y'all are literally sitting around acting like this faggot is a part of your family and like he has some right to be involved. It's not right, and y'all are fucking confused. Then, in a very stern voice, Mrs. Rudolphson emerged from the front door of the funeral home and said, Nobody is confused here but you, Nady. You aggravated my son while he was alive with your ranting and raving and acting foolish. You and him were finished a long time ago. There is no need for an opinion from you on who he dealt with after your time was up. And no one cares what your take is on our family. There's one thing that you need to know about our family that is an absolute fact. You are not part of the family unit, and your daughter always will be, no matter what you say or do. So be respectful and leave now before I have to come out of my comfort zone and unleash things unto you that I have been longer to give you since I met you. Okay, mama. Nady didn't say another word. She went back and got into the car that she came in, and they drove away. I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be trouble or the subject of any drama. Mrs. Rudolphson said, nonsense. That girl is a problem and has always been. I never approved of her. She messy. Topaz, you have just as much right to be here as anyone else that loved Talik, and you are part of our family. Period. She looked over at Mr. Rudolphson and said, I'm tired, and I'm ready to go home. He grabbed her hand and led her away the building and toward the parked car. She turned and said, be careful, and I'll see you guys in the morning. I gave a confident wave as the Rudolphsons entered their car. Cherie said, are you hungry? I could take you to get... Are you hungry? I could take you to get something to eat. I said, I am actually. Can we get pizza? He smiled and said, you can have whatever you want, LT. And don't let that bitch Natty bother you. If she steps out of line, cuss that hoe out. I replied as I got into Cherie's black 2004 Cadillac Eldorado. I'm not worried about her. As long as she doesn't touch me, we good. She can say whatever she wants. He responded, well, if you all right with it, I'll try to be. But I'm not promising anything. He then pulled out his cell phone and called the pizza shop and ordered our food for pickup. I laughed and said, you knew the number by heart? Do you come here much? He laughed and said, Ty always said you were a smart ass. Once we got to the restaurant, I didn't get out the car. I felt a little uneasy about being out with just he and I. So I let Sharif go in and pick up the food. I was just about exhausted anyway. Sharif is really well known in the community and well respected. There was no need for me to feel uneasy being with him. The seats in Sharif's car were already in leaning position, and they were the softest leather that you have ever felt. Also, the windows were tinted to perfection, and before I knew it, I had drifted off to sleep. As I lay there, I was feeling a little heated all of a sudden. As I opened my eyes, I was caught off guard by Sharif's hand rubbing my inner thigh. I grabbed his hand and said, what are we doing, Reef? He replied, rubbing on a sexy specimen and getting horny as fuck. What about you? What you doing, LT? I grabbed his hand and replied, I'm getting confused here. This is not supposed to be happening. Did you forget our agreement? He sat back in his seat and said, I thought about that arrangement, and I want to show you what I think about that. Lean over here, please. Against my better judgment, I did it, and all I felt in the next moment was his tongue infiltrating my mouth like a fortress that he planned on conquering. I was a little shocked at how comfortable he seemed to be with the flow of feelings involving me. It was like there was no confusion involved with his choice of sexuality, but I knew that couldn't possibly be so. Not this soon. I truly believe this is a case of being hot and horny and not built on much more than that. I couldn't let myself fall into this trap, but I definitely did not want to hurt Reese's feelings. I was definitely regretting the earlier events of the day at this point. I tried to pull away from him, but it wasn't working. I don't know if it was his grip on me or the fact that my body was entrenched in lust as his was. I know what I needed to do, but like clockwork, I could feel myself falling into this forbidden zone yet again. Finally, the kids broke and I said, what the hell, Reef? This is a mess. He interrupted me. Why? Why is it a mess? It feels right to me. I said, how do you know it is right? How do I know you're not just horny and trying to get off and using me as a vehicle by which to get your stuff off? He raised his eyebrows up as if he was becoming impatient with the whole situation as he answered, you don't know, but you're going to have to trust me, LT. Are you telling me that you can't trust me? All of a sudden, I'm not worth trusting? Are you serious right now? I could see the hurt forming in his eyes. Ooh, the manipulation, honey. I could see the hurt forming in his eyes. I grabbed his hands and said, okay, Sharif, I'm not trying to be hurtful, but I'm afraid things won't work. And I don't want to lose your friendship because if it doesn't work out, what are the chances that we'll remain close? He said, I'm making a choice here for my life, all about you. How can you just leave me hanging? What kind of shit is that? I said, boy, I'm not leaving you hanging. I just don't want to be hurt and left alone when this is all over with. I don't think I can stand it, especially when my first decision was not to indulge. He yelled, but you did, didn't you? You did indulge. I wasn't fucking myself early this morning. Or was that not you that was laying underneath me? I said, don't yell at me, Reef. I'm trying not to. He cut me off. You trying not to what? To fuck with me? Was a dick bad for you or something? Is that something that you're not telling me? I said, no, that's not it. But speaking of that, you said that's the first time you've had an experience. You didn't even give yourself a chance to process it. Are you sure this is even for you? He replied, stop saying that. I did process it. And yes, you are for me. I said, okay. But what about that apparent attraction that you have for females? What are you going to do about that? Because I don't share. A smile appeared on his face as he replied, and neither do I. So I guess we're finally getting on the same page. Now, can I have a kiss? And we can go eat pizza before this shit needs microwave. We went over his house. His parents had already gone to bed, and all of the house guests that were staying at their house had pretty much made their way to bed as well. We were very quiet as we made our way to Sharif's room. We were just getting seated when there was a slight tap on the door. Sharif went and answered it. It was his cousin Tony. I was introduced to earlier this evening at the viewing. He had flown in from Florida from the funeral with his mom and little sister. Tony was an extremely attractive 18-year-old with an adorable southern drawl when he spoke. I noticed that he looked very nice in his shirt and slacks earlier, but now that he was standing in the doorway with a tank top and shorts on, I can see that he had a body that would not quit. Whew. He was caramel colored, about 6 foot tall, deep brown eyes. His face was perfectly framed with the sexiest little goatee, and he was very pleasant to the eye. He asked Sharif could he come in and chill for a while, since everyone else was going to sleep. Sharif asked, hey LT, do you mind if Tony chills with us? I said, absolutely not. Come on, Tony, we got pizza. Have some? He said, I don't mind if I do, little dude. I usually don't eat this kind of junk food, but hell, why not? Sharif chimed in, yeah, he's a gym rat. How many days a week are you in the gym now, cuz? He answered proudly, every day when I can, but at least 5. You know I got to keep my shit tight for the honeys. He and Sharif chuckled and we all continued enjoying the pizza. We were enjoying each other's company when Tony got his nerve up and said, so little dude, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He continued, so you're gay, is that correct? I said, yes, that's correct. He had a strange kind of look on his face, very inquisitive. I said, why do you ask that, Tony? He replied, oh, I could just tell when I met you earlier, and even before Reef introduced us, I could tell you were a little light in the loafers. Sharif jumped in abruptly. Yo, cuzzo, don't say no old disrespectful shit to Topaz. We don't play that. He quickly replied, no, I wasn't trying to be smart. I'm sorry if you took it that way. It's just that I ain't never been around a gay dude, but you seem mad cool. Only thing is, you kind of act like a girl, and it is tripping me out. Because it's not like some of them dudes I see back at home. They all loud, and some of them wear girl clothes all the time. I don't understand. I replied, that's a very complicated part of the gay life, Tony. Everyone doesn't do those things. The homosexual community is filled with a lot of interesting folks who express their individuality in a ton of ways. Sharif just sat back and listened as the conversation continued. I was pretty unbothered by his interrogation. I found it a bit funny, actually. He was truly a bit clueless on the subject. I thought he must be living in a bubble down in Florida. The more questions I answered, the more personal they became. Eventually, he reached the topic of sex. He took a deep breath and blurted out, So dig this. One of my boys admitted to me that he let this cat get him some dome. I don't know why he did it. Sharif interrupted, because it wasn't none of your business. That's why you didn't understand. Tony said, Shut up, Reeve. I'm serious. Little dude, why do you think that dudes let y'all suck them off and shit? I leaned my head slightly to the right and said, Well, first off, what makes you think that I would be able to answer that? Have you pegged me as a dick sucker? Wouldn't that be more of a question for your poor friend that you felt was being taken advantage of? Because that is how you feel, if I'm hearing you right. You feel like your friend was taken advantage of by the gay guy that gave him head. Or did I hear you wrong? A blank look took over Tony's handsome face for a second, and then he replied, Well, kinda. I sat straight up on the edge of Cherie's bed and said, Explain yourself. Explain how do you feel that your friend was a victim? What did your friend lose in that situation? Sharif said, Yeah, I'm listening, cuzzo, but you ain't making no sense. It sounds like your road dog likes to get his dick sucked, and he didn't care who sucked it as long as he got his nut. And then he was cool with it because he felt comfortable enough to share it with you. Tony was quiet for a moment. I could imagine he was probably a little embarrassed at this point. The conversation had taken a shift. Where it started kind of cool, and the nature was of one trying to gain understanding on the subject, it now started to feel like a slight attack. And I was assured of that when Tony said, So tell me, little dude, you were involved with my cousin Ty, right? I said, Absolutely. He said, So did you used to suck his dick? Sharif jumped in and said, Yo, dog, not cool. I said, No, it's okay, Sharif. Let me explain something to you about me and your cousin. There was nothing casual about the relationship between me and Ty. We were a couple. He loved me and I loved him. So to answer your question, did I used to suck his dick? I did whatever he required to keep him sexually satisfied. A look of shock was evident on Tony's face. He then said, Okay, so you like sucking niggas' dicks though? I replied, That's not what I said. I have never had a casual sex act in my life. I have only ever had sex with someone that I cared about, who in return cared about me. I hope that kind of sheds some light on who I am for you, though I get the feeling it won't. He said, Why you say that, man? I said, Because I've been speaking with you and you haven't been listening. You've been more so less firing insults at me on the sly. He apologized and swore that he didn't mean it that way, but I wasn't buying that apology. I kept a cool head with it because I could see Sharif's attitude stirring. I was really in no mood for an altercation of any kind. I just wanted this conversation to end. Shortly after that conversation fizzled out, Tony said he was tired and he went to bed. I sat there for a little longer talking with Sharif before he decided to drive me home. On the way to my house, he said, I don't know what got into Tony. He was tripping, and it really sounded like he had something that he was trying to hide. That was so crazy. I don't even know what he was getting at. It was just dumb. I said, I don't know either, but I know an attack when I see one. And he got very close to making me lose my cool. I laid back in my seat and relaxed as Sharif drove. He looked over and said, Damn, are you comfortable? I laughed and said, Like you wouldn't believe. It seems like every time I sit here, I want to go to sleep. He said, Because you know I got you. I said, Oh, is that what that is? You are so cocky sometimes. It's funny, but it kind of works for you. He said, I don't think I'm cocky. I just know how to get what I want. So, do I have you at this point or what? Child, I looked over at Sharif and said, Sharif, at this point, are you taking no for an answer? He replied, not at all. I said, well, I'm all yours. Thomas. He said, I'm all yours. Please don't make me regret it. But let me say this. For some strange reason, I'm not worried. I definitely believe that you are going to do right by me. But I'm not sure about your parents. Our parents. I already know that Mama J is not going to approve. But she will come around. I don't know what my dad is going to say. And I am terrified of what your parents are going to think of me. He said, don't worry about none of that, love. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks but us. Period. I replied, but come on, Reef. It does leave me looking a little slutty. Dating the brother of your lover who has passed away and literally no time has gone by. And in addition, the brother was straight as an arrow. Oh yeah, sounds like the work of a slut to me. He interrupted me, but that is not how it all went down. I replied, I know, Reef, but to the naked eye, that is how it looks. But for you, I will endure. I think we're getting ready to travel some rough road, Mr. Rudolphson. He said, don't worry, we will be fine, I promise. We pulled up to the front of the house and Sharif parked the car and turned off the ignition. He turned his head to me and said, what I need you to do is concentrate on being happy. Can you do that, LT? I said, I can. I'm not going to worry anymore. I'm just going to roll with you and trust you. He smiled and replied, that's all I asked for. Because once you're happy, then you will definitely keep me happy. He took my hand and said, so, is there a chance that I can sleep with you tonight? I really would like to have you close to me, right through here. I replied, I'm sorry, but I'm not in a sexing kind of mood tonight, Reef. He said, I guess that's a good thing because neither am I. I didn't ask you for fuck time. I asked you to slumber with me. There is a difference. So Topaz J, can I get a little comfort from my shawty tonight or what? I smiled and responded, absolutely, Poppy. As we exited the car and started toward the house, I thought about how interesting of a person that Sharif Rudolphson is. He has such a hard edge to him, but then when you really get to know him, you realize that he is a big cream puff. He is very passionate about the people and the things that he cares about. It made me smile to know that I was one of those. In the far corner of my mind is the reality of the situation. In my heart of hearts, I know that this isn't going to work out. But I still have that little dysfunction that shows up and makes me weak to a love interest. One day I will have to talk to Mama J about that, but not today. We went right into the house and proceeded downstairs into the game room. I turned on the television and told Sharif to have a seat and chill while I get everything we needed to be comfortable. He took a seat on the couch and off I went to fetch a few pillows and blankets for us. While I was upstairs on the second floor, I took a shower and put on a pair of pajamas. I also grabbed a pair of pajama bottoms for Sharif out of Waleed's old room. On my way back down the hallway, I can hear the signal for a text message going off on my cell phone. I grabbed my phone off of my bed and started back down the stairs to the game room. I looked at my phone and there were several messages from JJ and a couple from Waleed. I immediately checked out JJ's messages. He was trying to see how I felt and also the information about the funeral time. I responded back to him with a text of the information and also informed him that I would talk to him soon. Waleed's text I simply didn't read at that time. I reached the game room to find a very cute and very sleek Sharif laying on the couch. I laid a blanket over him. I didn't want to disturb him. He was so peaceful. It just wouldn't have been right. I spread a comforter on the floor for myself and laid down. I decided to watch a little television until I fall off to sleep. As I laid there, I was curious as to what Waleed had to say in his text. I opened my phone to find 4 messages of him ranting and raving. It's normal. He went on and on about how he didn't appreciate me ignoring him or the way I spoke to him and Jeremy. The last message said, "You act like you don't want me. If that is true, let me know so I could put Jeremy in your place. It's up to you." In light of that foolish comment, I turned off the television and my phone and went to sleep. I felt Sharif drawing me on the comforter around 4 a.m. He was trying to wake me up, and that was evident. His whole body was a little damp. He had taken a shower and didn't thoroughly dry off. The funny part is, I heard him when he went into the bathroom and cut the shower on. He pulled up close to me and whispered in my ear, "LT, are you asleep?" I said, "Yup." He responded, "All right, but I need you woke for this." I said, "For what?" In a matter of seconds, I was stripped naked and placed into some form of a Kama Sutra pose. I laughed to myself because I knew that I was this flexible, but had no idea how in the hell Reef got that flexible or knew about any of this exotic sexing. But rest assured, I was going to ask the questions, but right now, I was going to give in to the tingling that was running throughout my body as Sharif worked in a steady motion. Child. He was doing a good job of being quiet and just grunting and groaning. Me, on the other hand, it took everything I had to keep from yelling out in ecstasy. As the episode rolled to a close, I was completely worn out. My legs were rubbery, my breathing was a bit heavy, and I was concentrating really hard not to let Sharif see the state that he had left me in. He said, "Come on, love, lay next to me. I'm fucked up right now. I'm tired as hell. You all right?" I said, "I'm fine, Poppy." He interrupted, "You better stop that shit. When you call me Poppy, it turns me on. I don't know why. When I was waiting for you to come back down to the game room, I was trying to figure out why I was on brick. It happened as soon as you called me Poppy in the car. So watch yourself with that." I said, "Wow." "I will be sure to stay mindful of that, Poppy." He laughed and pulled me into him, planted a seriously deep kiss on me, and round 2 was in progress. By 7:30 a.m., Sharif and I said our "I love yous" and "see you laters," and he was headed home. I was wondering why my parents weren't up and stirring around. When I got to the second floor, it was totally quiet. Then, just as I went to turn into my room, I heard something that stopped me in my tracks. It was coming from my parents' room. I proceeded down the hallway, and before I got all the way in the bedroom, I was immediately transformed into an immature 12-year-old. I was disgusted and taken off guard. The bed was squeaking, and the moans and groans were escaping the room. I did what any 12-year-old would do. I said, "Ew," under my breath, and quickly tiptoed back to my room and acted like it didn't happen. I guess it's true. No child wants to see their parents still have sex. It's kind of funny when you think about it. My reaction was as though I was so innocent and untouched, when meanwhile, I was probably doing worse just 2 floors below, not long ago. That really took nerve on my part. I had to laugh to myself. By 9:45 a.m., our house was in full swing. We had all showered, eaten breakfast, and were dressed in our clothes for the funeral. Papa J was sitting in his chair in the living room, speaking about us leaving at 10 a.m., since the church was not that far away from our house, when the phone rang. Mama J answered the phone. After a few seconds, she was smiling, and I could tell right away from her response that it was Mrs. Rudolphson on the other end of the line. Mama J said, "Okay, hon, we'll see you shortly, and thanks again." She hung up and said, "Topaz, that was Mrs. Rudolphson. They're about 5 minutes away, and they would like for you to ride in the limo with the family. They will be here to get you shortly." And it's so nice of them. The way they include you into their family, and they are so genuine. It makes me love them even more. They are a beautiful couple. Papa J nodded in agreement. I went out into the hallway and took a final look in the mirror at my custom-made black suit, accompanied with a black-on-black printed silk shirt and tie. I was definitely looking my best. Within moments, I could see the black limousine pulling up outside. I told my parents that the Rudolphs were here, and I would see them at the church. I then proceeded out the door and down the walkway to the beautiful black stretch limousine. As I approached, the door was opened by the driver, who was ever so polite and asked, "How are you this morning, son?" I replied, "I'm very good, thanks." As soon as I looked forward, the first face I saw was Sharif. He cracked a bit of a smile, but I could see all of the tension in his face. Next, I seen Mr. and Mrs. Rudolphson. They were smiling and welcoming me into their presence, while Sharif was reaching for my hand to lead me to have a seat next to him. As I sat, I said, "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me in your company. I can't voice how appreciative I am right now. Thank you." Mrs. Rudolphson smiled and then introduced me to both her parents and Mr. Rudolphson's parents. And strangely enough, they all knew who I was. As we were riding to the church, Mrs. Rudolphson said, "Topaz, I would love it if you would sing something this morning. We didn't add it to the program because originally I thought it may be too much for you. But seeing how you are handling everything, I would love to hear your voice this morning. Only if you feel up to it." I said, "If that's what you would like me to do, I'll do it. I'm more than happy to sing." Mr. Rudolph's mom said, "My daughter-in-law said you have the voice of an angel." I didn't know how to respond. I just smiled as Sharif jokingly said, "Yeah, I hit his leg and said, 'Don't start.' He laughed and said, 'Just jokes, just jokes.'" I rolled my eyes and laughed as everyone else in the limo. It wasn't a very long ride. We reached the church pretty quickly, and the limo pulled up in front of the church. The driver got out and came around to open the door for us to exit the vehicle. As I got out, I was amazed. I had never seen anything like this scene. There were tons of people and media outside the church. There were cameras flashing like crazy and video being shot by all the major networks from my area and even the Jackson College area. I'm more than sure that had to do with the nature of Talik's death. It was violent and senseless, and he was not part of the actual altercation that erupted into this tragedy. Ty was at Jackson College on the athletic scholarship. He had a very positive future. Unfortunately, he never even got to attend one class, and it was no fault of his own. When you think about it, it really was a sad state of affairs. As we walked into the church and took in the sea of familiar faces that filled the pews, all sorts of emotions were taking place. Both sets of grandparents and Mr. and Mrs. Rudolphson led the way. Sharif and I were walking side by side directly behind them, and behind us was a slew of cousins, uncles, and aunts. We proceeded down front and filled the front pews. It was really too real sitting there in front of the ivory and gold casket, knowing that the love of my life was actually laying in there. Once everyone was seated and calm, the lid of the coffin was lifted, and there was my angel lying still in a bad dream that I could awake from. I took a few deep breaths and just held onto Sharif's hand, which was now cold, clammy, and shaky. I looked him in the eyes and said, "Are you with me? Are you all right?" He nodded yes. The service began, and there were so many people that poured out messages of peace and love to the family. Jackson College's full board of directors were present, and they all came to the front as the school president spoke. He expressed his deepest sympathy for the family and their loss. His speech was very heartfelt. The church was very quiet as the speakers came and went. You could hear a little sniffling, but it was otherwise quiet. There was a member of the congregation reading off sympathy cards that had been mailed directly to the church. I was listening, but totally preoccupied with the amount of flowers that were sent. It was like something from a movie. I don't think I ever seen that many flowers on the inside of a building. There was such nice things being said about Talik. He was truly a well-liked person who was taken away too soon. As I continued zoning out and scanning the crowd, I could feel Sharif squeezing my hand. His hand was so cold and clammy, he really wasn't taking it so well. I leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Don't worry, baby. It'll be all over soon." He just looked at me and his eyes were a bit empty. I said, "How about when I go up to scene, you come and stand with me and help me out? I'm really nervous." I was a little nervous, but I figured if he is focused on taking care of me, it would take the strain off of him temporarily. He cracked a weak smile and whispered, "I got you, love. Don't worry. You gonna tear it up. I'll be able to hear you from heaven." That put a smile on my face, and the nervousness actually went away. Next up to the podium was Mrs. Rudolphson. Her husband escorted her from her seat. She was wearing a beautiful white suit, heavily adorned with lace, rhinestones, and bugle beads on the lapel. The skirt framed her legs as if it was made right into her body. She accompanied her suit with a 4-inch white peep-toe heel. Mr. Rudolphson was matched to perfection in a white double-breasted suit with a perfect wise guy's fit. It laid flawlessly on his well-built frame. The pair of them were absolutely stunning. As she took her place in the pulpit behind the podium, the church went into dead silence. She began to speak with her voice crackling from the tears she was holding back. "I don't have the words to say as to how I feel about the fact that each and every person here took time out to come and celebrate my baby. The outpouring of love from our community and Jackson College is something I've only heard about. I've never witnessed it. But on today, I can say there were other people who loved my son. And that's a good feeling, especially after the way he was taken from us. We, his parents, we dressed in white today instead of black. I don't want to be in mourning. I've done that all week. All week. Do you hear me? Praise God. I've mourned his passing and I'm tired. Lord, I'm tired. I can't cry anymore. I don't have a reason because I know that my baby is resting with the Lord." She stepped back and began to shout to the Lord in praise. Simultaneously, praise shouting started to fill the sanctuary. Oh, I want to get up out this chair right now. Sharif had completely broken down at this point, and he had his head in my lap sobbing. Within roughly 10 minutes, order had been regained, and Mrs. Rudolphson continued. "There is a family here today that are recent friends of ours. Can Mr. and Mrs. Jesper please stand up so all of my family and friends can see you? This man and woman of God have been an absolute blessing to us in our time of grief. They have been a beacon of light in this dark, dark time of life. There are a couple that jumped in and sat in the parent roles until our parents arrived. You see, I'm a grown woman, but when I got the news that my child's life had been extinguished, all I wanted was my mama. And in an instant, the Lord sent me to Jespers, and they allowed us to lean on them until after my mama got to town. Y'all don't hear me? I said this man and woman who are the parents of one of my child's friends, they didn't really know us on a deep scale of friendship. We were merely joined by the love shared between our children. This God-sent couple opened their arms with no hesitation and said, 'Come to me, lean on me, cry on my shoulder. What is it that you need? What can I do to ease the pain?' Y'all don't understand what I'm telling you. I was wallowing in my grief to the point that I have another child that I couldn't help him through his grief. My baby was lost and I couldn't reach him. Oh God. Whew. I couldn't get hold of my child and fix what was troubling him, my Lord. The Jespers reached down and grabbed Sharif and pulled him up from his despair. They have been a set of angels to us, and we are forever grateful. After this going home ceremony ends, we will be going over to the Philankos Hall for fellowship and a fully catered meal. Everyone here is welcome. This was also handled solely by the Jespers, and they insisted that they take care of it. The preparation and financial burden. They said they wanted to do it in honor of our son and to take the burden away from our family of having to prepare a meal on this day. So I say to you, Mr. and Mrs. Jesper, we love you. We appreciate you. And we couldn't have made it through this without all of your love and compassion. God bless you. She blew a kiss at my parents, and I swear There wasn't a dry eye in the place. It was really a heart-wrenching moment. I was really trying hard not to get started with the crying, but it was just impossible. I lifted Sharice's head from my lap and said, "It's cool, Reef. It's cool. You're doing fine, okay?" He responded with a head nod. I put my attention on my parents and my Uncle Joe. JJ and his boyfriend Quan was sitting right next to them in the pew on their left. And on the right side of them was Waleed, Christine, and Jeremy. Waleed had a few tears welled up in his eyes, along with a small look of confusion, while Jeremy had a deadlocked stare and a look of contempt on his face. I refused to even give into the thought of those two on this day. I looked back at the pulpit as Mrs. Rudolphin continued. And speaking of love, the next person that you are going to hear from is a person who, without a doubt, absolutely loved and shared a special bond with my baby. He has become a member of our family. We're just crazy about him. He is the youngest son of the Jespers. His name is Topaz. And I thank God that he sent him to us. When I was at one of the lowest points, my Topaz, I hope you don't mind us borrowing him from time to time, Mrs. Jesper. She took a moment to chuckle as she and Mama J exchanged smiles. She continued, I was really losing it a bit, and this child shared with me a talent that I had no idea was laid on him so heavily. Ty would talk about short stuff, as he would call him, singing. But my God, the soothing sound of comfort that came out of his mouth turned the whole thing around. I felt like arms had wrapped me in the bosom of the Divine One. It was undeniable. The anointing that lies within you, my sweetheart, is undeniable. I want you to come up here and share that anointing this morning, if you would. I know I can use it. Hold on real quick. I'm thirsty. I stood up at the same time Sharice stood in unison, like two perfect black dominoes. As we made our way to the pulpit, I started to notice a lot of people that I had no idea were there. I can feel the tears building up in my eyes. Amongst the crowd was my friends from school, Akai, Rebecca, Michelle, and Nichelle. It meant so much that they actually came. Our friendship is very new. I was beside myself with the fact that they drove 2 hours to get here. That gives them a huge boost with me in credibility department. Also, I could see Natty, Angie, Trianne, and a guy who really wasn't familiar to me. I figured it must be her fiance, Sam. When our eyes locked, she shot me a swift, dirty look and rolled her eyes up into her head. For the first time, it actually didn't bother me. I expected such from my sister. I doubt that she'll ever change. I turned my attention to Mr. and Mrs. Rudolphson. They were completely in anticipation of the two of us reaching the podium. They both had smiles on their faces. When we reached them like clockwork, I embraced Mrs. Rudolphson and Sharif embraced his dad. He then stood on my right side as I approached the microphone. I cleared my throat and I began. I know we've heard a lot about Ty this morning, but I can tell you without a doubt, it is all true. He was just an awesome being. And that happens when you have awesome parents. From the first day that I came in contact with the Rudolphson family, I have been comfortable, loved, and treated like one of their own. You don't find that everywhere. Trust me, I know of what I speak. When Mrs. Rudolphson asked me to sing, she didn't say what she wanted me to do. I turned to her and I continued. She told me to do whatever God laid on my heart, and it would be perfect. Well, from that time till now, all I've been thinking about is how lucky I was to have the time with Talik that God allotted me. How merciful was that to give my friend, a true friend, who cared about me the way I cared about him. God's grace never disappoints. Not never. I started to choke up. Mr. Rudolphson stepped up and grabbed my shoulders and said, "You can do it, son. It's okay." I said, "I'm sorry, everyone, but it hurts. I know he is with the Lord, but the absence hurts. It's selfish of me, but I miss my friend. But I thank you, God, for the little time. I thank you. Cherie grabbed my hand and I focused on my mom. She gave me a head nod and I began to sing slowly. Great is your mercies toward me, your loving kindness towards me, your tender mercies I see day after day, forever faithful towards me. You're always providing for me. Great is your mercies I see. Great is your grace. I started back into the verse, and the church's choir and musicians joined in. At that point, I got very comfortable and allowed my feelings to overflow into the song. By the time I reached the last verse of the song, the church was in an uproar. People were shouting and singing along and praising God freely. The rush of emotions overtook me, and I dropped my head and stopped singing as the tears flowed freely from my eyes. I lifted my free hand to cue the musicians to take the volume off of their playing down low and the choir to sing softly. Sharif continued to hold on to my right hand tightly. He just sobbed as I sang the last verse with all the feeling that was pinned up in my tidy body. And the verse goes on again. Sharif grabbed me in an embrace as I finished singing. I noticed Mr. Rudolphson helping Mrs. Rudolphson to her feet. The four of us headed out of the pulpit as the musicians continued to play. The church was in a complete uproar. It took the pastor about 15 minutes to regain control as the people praised loudly and freely. I looked over and seen Mama J being comforted by Papa J and Waleed just staring at me. Christine had tears in her eyes while Jeremy sat looking confused about what had just gone on. We took our seats as the choir continued chanting at a low roar. The pastor had taken his place back in the pulpit and he spoke, "This is a testament to God's favor being placed in an unlikely place." I immediately tuned into what he was saying, as did Mama J. I can see it in her eye, in her face. He continued, "This young man is carrying an anointing on him that seems too heavy to imagine. But when he opened his mouth, the presence of God filled this place. Hallelujah! You all felt it. You couldn't miss it. And if you did, you need to throw yourself at the altar and ask the Lord to reveal himself to you because he is here. Topaz, son, come back up here if you would and help give him thanks to our Father." I immediately rose to my feet and made my way back to the pulpit. The pastor put his arms around my shoulder and he said, "Follow me, son, and let's lead our people into praise." He sang, "The presence of the Lord is here. The presence of the Lord is here." I chimed in. "I feel it in the atmosphere." The pastor chimed in. "Oh, Jesus," I said, "the presence of the Lord is here. The presence of the Lord is here. The presence of the Lord is here. I feel it in the atmosphere. The presence of the Lord is here." He continued singing the lead, and I filled in with ad-libs and a soulful wailing that really got the crowd going. As the song drew to a close, the pastor looked at me and said, "Do you see that, son? That is the Lord's anointing. Do you see how it filled this place as soon as you begin to share your gift? It is your duty to minister through song. Your gift will bring people to the Lord and give them a better life. All you have to do is keep sharing your gift. I promise you, God is pleased with you, son. He is pleased." Mama J was just holding her arms in the air and crying. Everything that the pastor was saying were the same things that she had been saying to me all along about my voice. The pastor completed the service and everyone headed out of the church to their vehicles to form a caravan to go to the grave site. As we exited the church, I noticed the light dusting of a cool drizzle of rain. We got into the limo and everyone was a bit quiet. This part of the ceremony is the one that I definitely wasn't looking forward to. To see them lower him into the ground, I shivered at the thought of it. Sharif was quiet but attentive to me as usual. I assured him I was okay. Mrs. Rudolphson sat quietly in her seat, and as she and I made eye contact, she nodded her head and said, "You did good, baby. Real good. Thank you." I just lowered my head. She said, "It's okay, baby. I understand. I understand." Before long, we arrived at the gravesite and I began to get out of the limo. I noticed right away that the ground was a bit moist, which disgusted me. I definitely didn't want mud all over me, though this was truly not the time for me to pull out my diva card. Everyone gathered around the hole in the ground, which was lined with what seemed to be carpet. There were all types of contraptions that were in place to be able to lower the casket into the ground. As we stood waiting for the pastor to begin speaking, I noticed the aggravation in Nattie's face as she tried whispering to Trianne. "I can't stand these motherfuckers. They act just like me and my daughter don't matter, and then act like this faggot is the shit." Trianne said to her, "Nattie, they did mention the baby in the eulogy. Now, the whole thing with Eugene's weird ass, that's just ridiculous." Sam cut their conversation short. He said, "Come on, y'all. Not here, not now." I kept in eye contact with Trianne so as to let her know that I knew what was being said. I was in no mood for her antics today. The pastor finally took his spot and began speaking. Everyone was really quiet other than a little sniffling and crying. Once the Reverend finished his words, they slowly began to lower the coffin into the ground, and like clockwork, an outburst ensued. "Oh God, no, no, no! Talik!" We were all in shock and just standing there stunned. This was ridiculous. Natty had remained quiet through this whole process. And now all of a sudden she breaks out in this fit of yelling and screaming. Somehow I knew it was all a put on. She wanted her time to shine. It was so desperate and so sad. She had handed her baby to Trianne before she started whooping and hollering. Sam and Trianne just watched her right along with the rest of us. She was so loud that she yelled, "He was mine! He was the man of my dreams. He gave me a beautiful child and now he's gone. He's gone." She staggered back and forth as the stunned onlookers hung on her every word as she continued, "He was my man, mine." As soon as she said that, I am thinking to myself, uh-oh, here we go. She turned her attention right to me. "You are nobody, and you weren't anybody to him. You can tell people whatever you want. He was mine, and he never stopped being mine. I couldn't keep him away from you because you are nasty and freaky, you bastard. You had him confused. He wasn't your kind." I looked at her and I refused to participate in this dialogue. I just kept quiet and watched as she carried on. Sharif grabbed my hand and whispered in my ear, "Hold on, love." I shook my head no. I didn't want to be the center of this kind of attention. I didn't want him arguing and fighting with her over me. I figured if I said anything, the faster they could diffuse her rant. She went on, "Did you know that he never stopped sleeping with me? How about that, Eugene Baloo? Yes, that is the fag's real name. Not Topaz, it's Eugene." I immediately became infuriated, and I was thinking to myself, it's a good thing she is on the opposite side of that hole in the ground. She continued on, "That's right. He's not some great singer and nice person. He is a filthy dick sucker and a man stealer. He tries to convince men that it's okay to have gay sex with him. He's trifling. Talik told me that he loved me and that he was done with that life. We fucked all day long the day before he went away to school, And that nasty faggot must have been trying to push up on him again when somebody killed him. You are bad news, you freak. And you need to go away before someone else gets hurt. Faggots are always bad luck, you bitch. Disclaimer, there is heavy cussing. These are not my words. I'm just reading out of the book. She was making her way around to where I was. I had already told myself that if she gets too close, I'm going to have to apologize because I'm going to take her down. She was still yelling. And what kind of family are you? Cradling is queer. What's next? You, Sharif? You want to put your dick in him next? Or are you already? You and Ty always wanted to do everything together. Did y'all fuck this faggot at the same time? Sharif yelled. No, just you fucking smut. You could feel a shift in the air as a rhythmic gasp of unbelief took place with his words. He continued, shut your mouth and shut it now before she fired back. Before you what, motherfucker? What are you gonna do? You sitting here holding the faggot's hand like now that Ty is dead, the torch has been passed. So is he yours now? Now you can have your turn with the homo? Sharif said, he is family, and we care for him. And that's what your problem is. Nobody ever cared for you, you crazy whore. Her eyes grew so large and crazed as she screamed, was I a crazy whore when you fucked me the day after Talik died? You couldn't wait to get this pussy without him being around. And for the record, his dick was always better. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All sorts of emotions were spinning throughout my body. I had dropped Sharif's hand and hadn't even noticed that it was replaced with my Uncle Joe's, who was pulling me away from the two of them. Mr. Rudolphson told Sharif to shut up, and he did so immediately. Mrs. Rudolphson was with the grandparents who were trying to calm her down. She really wanted to get her hands on Natty, but they wouldn't let her get loose. Natty continued ranting and raving. Fuck all of you. And Sharif, you know you gonna come and get me. So shut the fuck up and stay away from that faggot before I have to fuck him up. I'm not sharing you with him too. Lord Jesus. Mr. Rudolphson turned toward Natty and yelled, you shut your miserable fucking mouth, you two-bit family wrecking whore, and get your sorry ass away from here. And I mean now. Don't you dare disrespect my family in this way. We have let you carry on for the last time, and I have had it. Natty responded, what's the problem? I'm trying to keep your other son on the straight and narrow. You should be thanking me. He yelled, if you don't go ahead, I'm going to be choking you. Now get going, Natty. I'm serious. You done enough damage here. Go away. Just go away. She said, fine, I will. I'm sick of this bullshit. She proceeded to walk away from where we were standing and go back over to where Trianne was, standing with her baby and enjoying the drama. She had a wide grin on her face. Natty was moving swiftly around the grave and still beefing. I'm tired of holding my tongue. This fucked up family is gonna know that I mean business. And that little fag too. As she made her way over to her high-heeled shoe sank. As she made her way over, her high-heeled shoe sank and slid into the moist grass and dirt, causing her to lose her footing a bit. There were a few older women that were friends of the family that were standing nearby. They too felt as though Natty's behavior had been as ridiculous as could be. And when she lost her footing, they kind of chuckled. Well, as she regained her step, she turned her wrath onto them. What the fuck are you old bitches laughing at? You big, fat, sloppy built bitches. I am dead. One of the women replied, little girl, you were doing real well with the folks that you started this mess with. If you disrespect me again, God is my witness. I will make you swallow every tooth in your head. I have daughters your age, and I don't play that mess. The two other women standing next to her grabbed her and stopped her from getting too close to Natty. Natty said, oh, please, let her go. Do you feel froggish? Then leap. Because I don't mind putting the old bitch on her back. Things are really taking a turn for the worse. Natty continued her screaming and carrying on as the women worked on calming their friend down. One of the women turned and said, please, honey, this is not the time nor the place for this. I beg you to just walk away and we'll take her away. Please, sister. Natty looked at her and said, don't you honey sister me with your old convenient Christian bullshit. You old hoes kill me with that shit. Now you're so holy, but are you that holy when you and that other bitch are sucking each other's pussies? Baby, she running through. Y'all praising the Lord all day Sunday and dyking all week long. Bitch, everybody know it. Woo. Woo. The woman turned to her friend Lucy and said, what did you say, girl? Natty continued, oh, now you don't. Everybody knows about you fucking lesbians hiding behind those Bibles. A bunch of old ass dykes up in the church. No wonder y'all ass so accepting of that faggot ass motherfucker. I hope y'all catch AIDS and die, freak ass motherfuckers. Oh, I'm gonna need to pray after this. The woman lunged at Natty and grabbed her by the throat. And the fight was on. It didn't last very long before the scuffle was broken up. Natty yelled, fuck this shit. I'ma see you, bitch. She made a swift turnaround to walk away when she tripped on the red carpet outlining the grave and fell directly over into the hole on the side of the coffin. I couldn't believe that some folks actually broke out into laughter. It was a little funny, but a bit scary. She was unconscious down in the hole, and the paramedics had to be called. Once they checked her out, she was okay. The only thing damaged was her pride. She had plenty of soreness to last her and give her something to think about. But her pride ultimately took the death blow. And scene. Listen, that was chapter 6. We're going to go for a little brief intermission, baby, because my throat is a little parched. But don't go nowhere. And listen, don't mind the Monday. We know it's Tuesday because I know I was supposed to be here yesterday. But y'all listen. Now, don't go nowhere. Just listen. It's Monday night again. We back, y'all. We back, y'all, for another read. And this time, we'll be learning Topaz. Yeah, we see Topaz got his footing. Baby, Topaz did his thing. Now it's time to see where he gonna be at next. So y'all sit back, relax. Let's take this trip. Let's see what Topaz gonna get into now. If you haven't told your friend, go tell your friend. We over here reading, y'all. It's about to go down. Thank you to our author, Mr. James Colwell, aka Spilly Boy. Head on over to Amazon.com so you can get your books today. That's Amazon.com and search for Mr. James Colwell. We read, y'all. Let's get this thing started. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. Share it with your friends. Come over and follow me on Instagram. Instagram.com/AlmondBrown09. Let's get this party started, y'all. Woo, child. Okay, we back. Let's start on chapter 7 because I told y'all I was gonna finish this book tonight for y'all. Oh Lord, baby, if that ain't get you all hot and bothered, baby, at the funeral, baby, at the grave site. Lord Jesus. Chapter 7. Lord, let's eat. We finally made it to the hall to have dinner. It was refreshing that it was calm. I couldn't stand another moment of drama. Sharif and I naturally were side by side coming in. I was really quiet because I was actually pissed. Pissed to find out that Ty had been sleeping with Natty before, during, and after our involvement. Then to learn that Sharif has had sexual relations with her as well? Whew, this was way too much. But now is not the time to address it. When I see my parents, they motion for me to come over. As Sharif and I reached their table, they asked, "How's Topaz?" I replied, "I'm fine. I didn't allow that madness to get to me. Besides, time and place. I would never embarrass myself that way." Sharif said, "I'm really sorry about all that stuff. She is a bit of a problem for our family, most of the time." Mama J smugly said, "I see." I cut that short and said, "Okay, I'm going to go sit with Sharif and eat. Is that okay?" Waleed interrupted, "Why don't you sit over here with your own family, T? We would like to spend a little time with you. We would like to make sure that you are truly fine." I said, "I'm good, thank you, but we'll have plenty of time to spend with each other." Sharif said, "I don't want to be a problem. I know I have been leaning a lot on him. He has really been good with me through this process. I couldn't have made it without him." Mama J chimed in, "Sharif, there is no problem. Take Topaz over to the family table with you. We told you to lean on each other to make it through this, and you've done a great job." Christine said, "I agree, Mrs. Jesper. I couldn't hold back my tears when Topaz went up to sing. I seen how Sharif went up and stood in the gap as support. It was a beautiful thing to see in such a time of need. And Topaz, man, when you opened your mouth and sang, I was blown away." I said, "Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that." Mama J said, "I was very proud, and not just of my baby. I was proud of you, Sharif, and your parents. Your parents have become like my own children. I'm so proud of how you guys have conducted yourselves in the face of extreme, and I do mean extreme, adversity." She stood from her seat and walked over and embraced Sharif and said, "Well done, son. I know you wanted to snap, but you held it together and kept your family's dignity intact. The few little things that were said, but it could have been really bad had you not shown some self-control and you held it together. Well done." Sharif responded, "Thank you. I appreciate everything you've done, Mrs. J." The two of us went over to the Rudolphson family table and took a seat and quietly awaited the pastor to open the fellowship ceremony. There were tons of people there. As we sat and ate our food, there were people coming up to the family table and announcing that they would be leaving and giving us well wishes to the Rudolphsons. A lot of the people gave me compliments on my singing. It got to be a little embarrassing, just because of the occasion. It wasn't a concert, it was a funeral. I just had a hard time wrapping my head around compliments from something you did at a funeral. The hall that the dinner was held in was a beautiful and nice sized building with lots of rooms for conferences and such. Very easy to get lost in. It was roughly around 4:30 p.m., and Sharif and I were standing on the left side of the ballroom when Waleed approached us and asked had we seen Jeremy. He and Christine and our parents were ready to leave. Sharif said, "Did you check outside, man? I seen him talking with some of my cousins. Check outside." Waleed said, "Cool. I'm going to go. I'm going to get him, and then we'll all be ready." He was looking at me, and I said, "What does that have to do with me?" He said forcefully, "I said we will all be ready to go." I said, "Whatever, Waleed. You need to pump your brakes and go find your delinquent monster and go home." He stormed out of the ballroom. I told Sharif, "Let's help him find that messy little child so they can go. He getting on my nerves. We walked all over the hall looking. There was no sign of Jeremy anywhere. As we returned to the ballroom, there was one small conference room around the corner. As we passed, I thought I heard talking. I noticed the light on as we went by it the first time. I said, Reeve. I pointed at the door. As I approached and put my ear to the door, shocked at what I heard, soft grunting and groaning. I made Sharif listen. He immediately had a big Kool-Aid grin on his face. I bet I know what it is. We turned the knob softly and entered the room. I almost threw up my dinner at the sight of the mess in front of me. Sharif softly closed the door and we entered. We both stood quietly and just watched as Jeremy hovered over the male form sprawled out on the table and used every inch of his throat to get to a happy ending. He was so involved that they didn't even notice us. I was trying to make out who it was lying on the table when I heard the twang in the voice as the figure put Jeremy's head into his groin and said, "Suck my shit, you nasty fucking fag." Jeremy began to gag as he seemed to be enjoying himself even more. Sharif blurted out, "How nasty is it, Tony?" Sharif approached the edge of the table as Tony sat straight up, almost snapping Jeremy's neck. Sharif continued, "What was all those questions and bullshit about a nigga? And then you up in here straight up getting some dome from this little ass boy and calling him nasty. You're the nasty nigga, Tone." Jeremy jumped in. "I'm not no little boy. I bet I can make you come harder than that bitch you got with you." I said, "What are you saying, you little idiot? You don't even know what you're doing. You are always so willing to give yourself to people who care nothing about you. This boy was in here calling you all out your name. Does he even know your name? Dumbass." Tony climbed off the table and stood in front of Sharif pleading, "Please don't tell nobody, cuzzo. I just wanted to try it and see what was up with it. At that moment, Waleed burst in the door and seen us all standing there. He closed the door behind him and said, "What the fuck's up?" Tony got very nervous and continued trying to explain. "I was outside and he rolled up on me and told me I was sexy and looked like I had a big dick. I was thrown off at first, but then I figured this is my opportunity to try this thing out. I mean, he kind of threw himself at me." Waleed said, "So you just took it upon yourself to put your dick up in my son's mouth? Paul, I'll break your Bama ass neck." Tony didn't back down. He said, "Oh, don't sleep me, player. Your fucking fag came up on me, and I gave him the dick because he asked for it, and he liked it. So if you want to rumble, we can do that, nigga." Jeremy stood in between the two of them and said, "Waleed, you ain't my fucking dad. Your ass is just jealous and you was staring me down, country boy. You wanted this mouth bad and you know it." Waleed snatched Jeremy back by the back of his shirt like a cat. He struggled to get loose and said, "Get the fuck off me, you bastard." Waleed yelled, "I'm so sick of you and your bullshit. You don't know when to stop. You're a fucking slut. A little slut." Tony said, "I'm out of here. This shit crazy." Jeremy said, "Hey, I definitely want to finish what we started. I bet your nut tastes so good." We all just looked with our eyes and mouths open in reference to how out of order Jeremy was. Tony was standing in shock as Waleed said, "Oh, really? You want this nigga to bust in your throat? Is that what you saying?" Jeremy didn't even hesitate when he answered, "I sure do." Waleed turned to Tony and said, "Pull your shit out, nigga." Tony just looked at Waleed, and Waleed said again, "Pull out your shit, little nigga." Tony said, "What the hell are you talking about, my dude? I ain't gonna do that." Waleed responded, "Why not? Before we came in here, you had him sucking your shit, didn't you? Go ahead and finish. It's what my son wants, and I get upset when he doesn't get what he wants." Within seconds, Jeremy was unzipping Tony's trousers and taking him into his mouth. Sharif grabbed my hand and we exited the room. Waleed stood and watched them. I was appalled. Sharif and I went back to the ballroom, just like we didn't know what was going on. We decided to mind our business and not get involved. About 5 minutes later, we saw Waleed come and get Christine and head out of the ballroom. I said, oh my gosh, we have to follow them, Reef. We really shouldn't have left Tony. Waleed may actually beat him up or something. I never know what he's got up his sleeve. We really shouldn't have left him. Come on. We followed them. They went back to the conference room. As we hit the bend to reach the conference room, I heard a screech. It was Christine. She said, what the fuck is this? As she stepped into the room, we can see Tony withdrawing himself from Jeremy and climbing off of him as Jeremy was totally on all fours on top of the table. Jeremy had such a look of shock and betrayal on his face as Waleed screamed at Christine. This is bullshit. I bring you two with me to something with my family, and this is what I get? Get your motherfucking son. If he's going to be gay, that ain't no problem. But to embarrass my family in this way? What the Waleed stormed out of the room. Sharif and I stood there as Tony straightened his clothing and eased out of the room, and Christine dug straight into Jeremy. We came here to eat, and you got your ass up on the table with a nigga fucking you in your ass? Are you serious? What is this, Jeremy? What is this? She had tears flowing like a river. It was amazing that she had no inclination that her son was at least bisexual. You can hear the hurt in her voice. I felt really bad for her. Jeremy, who is usually full of nasty things to say, was absolutely quiet and looked as if he was just heartbroken. The betrayal that Waleed had just descended upon him was, to me, unimaginable. Before long, and Waleed and both my parents had returned to the conference room. Sharif gave me a look, and I understood exactly what he was thinking. Uh-oh. What next? Christine continued with her rant. No son of mine is going to do this. Do you understand? You're a goddamn fag. She started banging him in his head and in his back as he curled up in a ball on the floor. She shouted, faggot, 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 over and over as she banged on him. Eventually, my dad restrained her and said, Christine, no, baby, this is not the way. Trust me, you have to calm down. This will help you heal. Time will help heal you both. We will figure this out as a family. She pushed my dad away with immense force and said, fuck that. I don't ever want to see this freak again. Don't you ever come anywhere near me ever again. Sharif and I went over to help Jeremy up off the floor. He lashed out at us and said, don't touch me. Fuck all you motherfuckers. I hope you all die. He stormed out of the conference room. Heavy on the disclaimer. That is cussing. Okay? He stormed out of the conference room, running top speed. Mama J tried to talk to Christine. She said, Chris, please calm down. Just let us take Jeremy with us for a few days until this wave of anger moves, and we will help you. We are family. We can rise through any trial. She looked Mama J right in her face and said, what? Do you think I want a ridiculous, spoiled little faggot like you have? Hell no. Faggots are disgusting, and all those who love them are disgusting. If I knew he was going to be gay, I would have aborted him. I don't ever want to see him again. He is dead to me. Mama J slowly backed away from Christine and said, how could a mother, any mother, say that about her child? And he is your only child. My God. Christine said, fuck you faggot lovers. I've had enough. Waleed had tears in his eyes as he said, get away from here, bitch. And don't you ever speak to my parents that way and disrespect my family. Go be a mother to your son. I don't ever want to see either of you again. You tacky mother. She said, to hell with you. You were almost perfect, but you unfortunately stand behind this sissy as well. I'm glad I don't have to pretend anymore. Every time he's around, I itch. She stormed out of the room. We stayed in the room for about 15 minutes to collect ourselves before my parents headed home. I told them I would be there shortly. I stayed for a moment to talk to Sharif. We were both in awe of the performance given by Waleed. The tears and how he was supposedly so embarrassed. And Sharif doesn't even know the half of it. It is amazing to me that someone can be so vindictive and so calculated. He literally destroyed 2 lives in all lines of communication without blinking an eye. And worked it so well that he ended up looking like the victim when this was absolutely so far from the truth. This is a testament of how scary some people truly are. Chapter 8. Got a lot to learn. After the day's events, I was really drained, physically and emotionally. Once we got home, I took off my clothes, showered, and went directly to bed. I was sleeping like a rock when I heard my signal for a text message coming through my cell. I grabbed my phone and there were 16 texts from Waleed. I was thinking, what the hell? What could he possibly think I want to hear from him? The last message read, Boo Bear, are you up? It was now 1:30 a.m. and I was a little more than irritated with his position and his performance. I called him and he immediately answered, Hey baby, how you feeling? I know you had a rough day. I replied, I beg your pardon. He said, come on, don't be like that. We need to get back to basics. Everything that made you unhappy, I got rid of. So you need to let me make things right. You know I love you, don't you? I responded, are you crazy? Or is it that you think I'm crazy? Everything you did was done solely for you. It had nothing to do with me. You set Jeremy up and left him in a position where nobody trusts anything he says. And his mother basically hates him. That was so cold-blooded. Waleed stopped me. No, T, that wasn't my intention. I did expose him to Christine, but I didn't know how she would trip like that over his homosexuality. She pissed me off saying all that bullshit about you. I was ready to choke her. She done. I'll never speak to that hoe again. I said, why not? She didn't say anything worse than you said to me lately. He said, stop it. Don't say that. I am truly sorry about everything that I did and said. I said, man, all that shit you did? He said, but listen, just hear me out. The stuff with Ty was bad, but you heard it today. He was cheating on you all along with Nady. I replied, I don't want to get into the me and Tyleek situation. Whatever he did doesn't matter anymore. I have forgiven him. Know that. Now you are still here. The forgiveness is quite a bit more difficult. The line was quiet for a moment, and then Waleed said, I don't want to argue with you, Boo Bear. What can I do to get you back? Do you want me to buy you something? Do you want me to take you somewhere? Tell me. If you give me a chance, I put my tongue anywhere you want it. I miss our sex sessions. I know you do too. My dick aches for you. I got a hard on right now just thinking about your smooth skin and the tightness of your... I interrupted him. Waleed, sex with you is the absolute last thing on my mind. Trust me. I don't need gifts, trips, or anything. I just need to be left alone. Can't we just be cordial and be brothers, which is legally what we are, nothing more? He snapped, I don't have any motherfucking brothers. You are the love of my life, T. Don't you know that? But see, I think I know what the problem is. It's that nigga with the braids. I ain't playing this game. I'll take that nigga down about you, T. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He yelled, that fucking Sharif. Don't play. You know what I'm talking about. If I find out that nigga been up in you, I'ma fuck both of y'all up. I said threats, threats, threats. Cut it out, ass Jack. Stop always threatening folks. And why would you think that something was going on with me and Sharif? And more importantly, what business of yours is it? Waleed added, I can see the way he was all over you, like you were one of his hoes. Every time you move, he move. Everywhere you're at, he's at. I'm not feeling it. And I'm telling you now, if it's going on, then end it immediately. I paused for a moment and then I said, hey, you with the dreads and the bad attitude, who are you to tell me when to end and begin and with whom? You need to pump your brakes, dude. Seriously. He replied, all I'm saying is, if I catch that corny ass nigga dipping in my shit, he gonna pay. So you can end it now and save him the ass whooping. I replied, stop accusing me of things and being in my business and stop thinking that you can just go up and whoop people's ass. You can't beat everybody. One of these times, somebody gonna bust you in your shit. And then what? He chuckled and replied, there ain't never been but one nigga that bust me in my shit. And that was you last week. And you better never make that mistake again. I said, what the hell ever? You better never say what you said to me again. Or guess what? I'm gonna crash you again, tough guy. He laughed out loud. T, you got some shit with you. But I just can't shake you. You do something to me. When you're not around, I can't get you off my mind. Since the first time we had sex, anytime my shit gets stiff, you come to mind. It drives me crazy. It doesn't even matter who I'm with. It's you that I want to sex. I interrupted him. Okay, boy, I get it. You can stop now. You talking crazy. He replied, no, I'm not. And I'm not exaggerating. If you can experience how it is to run all up in your guts, oh my God. Boo Bear, you just don't know. Whoa. You got my shit on brick right now. Let me come and get you right now. You don't have to stay all night if you don't want to. But I wish you would. I promise. No arguing, no complaining, and no fighting. Just me up in your shit all night. I can't wait to bust all up in your shit. I was literally squirming in my seat. I can't stand the fact that he had some type of hold on me. But I just can't seem to shake it. I can't. It's like he knows just what to say and when. It's so aggravating to me. I took a deep breath and said, Waleed, I can't come over there. It's not a good idea. He came back with, well, how about I come over there? I said, what is that? I have no say or control over that, but I'm not having sex with you. He said, that's fine. Then when I get there, don't have sex with me. I didn't have anything that nice in mind anyway. I'd rather you fuck my brains out. I tried catching myself, but I ended up laughing and said, no, Wally, nothing at all. He said, I can't believe you are so heartless. You gonna make me injure myself? How can you be so heartless? I laughed, and just as I was feeling myself weakening by the moment, his phone beeped with an incoming call, subsequently killing the mood immediately. Oof, yes. I said, look, you're in luck. Some trick heard your wounded cry. It was nice talking to you, bro. I'm signing off. I'll speak to you soon. He began to try to explain. No, baby, this is Chris. She tripping. I ain't even gonna answer her. I don't want nothing to do with that bitch, ever. I said, I understand, Waleed, and I'm not questioning you. I'm just all wiped out, and I need to get some sleep. That's all. He said, T, seriously, baby? Are you mad? I said, that's so silly. Why would I be mad about your phone ringing, Waleed? That has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. He pleaded, please don't hang up, T. I said, I'm sleepy. What do you want me to do? Sit here and start snoring in your ear? He said, okay, can I call you tomorrow? I said, what's stopping you? He said, hey T. I said, yes, Waleed. His voice deepened and he declared, I love the shit out of you, boo. I paused and said, I know you do. Ooh, I can't. Ooh. When I woke up, it was 11:22 a.m. I had all intentions on being up and moving around by 9 a.m. I went and checked my cell phone. It was beeping, letting me know there was a new voicemail waiting. I listened to the voicemail as I sat at the edge of my bed. Hello, Topaz. This is Sam. I am your sister Trian's fiance, and I would love to speak to you about a few things that are really important. Please give me a call back at 412-444-7088. Thanks. I just sat there for a moment with the obvious questions running through my head. What, why, and how in the hell did you get my number? I sat for a moment and then I decided to call the number back to see what he wanted. After 3 rings, he answered, Yo, this is Sam. I replied, Hi, Sam. This is Topaz. I got your message. What's up? He cleared his throat and began, Hey, little dude. I wanted to talk to you. I don't know if you know it or not, but your sister and I are engaged to be married in a few months. And you are the one person in the family that I haven't had the pleasure of spending any time with. And being as though we are going to be brothers, I would like to sit down with you briefly, just so you can get to know me, a little vice versa. I don't want to build a relationship on what someone says. I like to draw my own conclusions about folks. You feel me? I laughed and said, Wow, is my family still bad mouthing me that intensely? He said, No, nothing like that. I just want to meet you for myself. I won't take up a lot of your time. Can you just give me about 30 minutes or so? Because there's another situation I want to discuss with you as well. I said, That's fine. When did you want to do all this? Because I will be leaving here to go back to school shortly. He said, ASAP, do you have some time this afternoon? I replied, That actually is the only time I have. I want to be out of here at least by 6 o'clock. He said, That's cool. I can come see you now if that's okay. I am close to where you stay. I said, How do you? Never mind. I gave him the address and he said, Cool little dude. I'll see you in about 20. I said, No problem. We hung up and I was feeling a little uneasy, but I figured it was just me. There is no telling what the Balu clan has told this man about me. It kind of makes me nervous. There was one more conversation that I must have before I leave, and that was with Sharif. I sent him a text message that said, I need to see you before I leave here. I'm leaving at 6. It's important. I'll be at home. I got myself together. I was wearing an outfit for a 2-hour drive. I needed to be comfortable. I had on a red body glove top with no sleeves and a pair of oversized red Nike sweatpants and red and white Nike sneakers. I was in my room getting things together when I heard the doorbell ringing. I ran downstairs and walked towards the door. As I looked out of the glass, I could see it was Sam. I opened the door and looked him over as he stood there. He was an average looking dude with caramel skin. He stood about 5 feet 11 inches tall. His body was pretty solid, but he didn't have a lot of muscle definition. Like I said, he was just average. His best attribute would have had to be his hazel eyes. They were pretty bright. He was wearing a really nice Nike outfit. He said, Hello, dude, can I come in? I chuckled and said, Come on, would you like something to drink? He said, Sure. I gave him an orange soda from the fridge and told him to have a seat. He started the conversation. Let's get right to it. I'm going to be marrying your sister in about 6 weeks, and I would like for every member of your family to be there. I laughed and said, Surely you are here without consulting Trian. There's just one small problem with your plan. Trian hates my guts, and I'm really not all that fond of her. There's no real reason to ruin her wedding day. with my presence. He replied, see, that's what I'm talking about. Y'all got to let that go. Y'all are family and you can't change that. I said, nor have I tried. I was taken by a foster family due to my birth family's physical and verbal abuse. Is that the story they're telling, or have they made up something else to tell folks? He responded, I try not to deal in those types of things. I'm really not a total part of the family yet, so I really have no place to discuss such things. The reason I'm here is all selfish. It's about what I want. He chuckled and continued, I want you and I to be on good terms. I think you're a cool little dude, and I hope you don't mind me calling you little dude. I smiled and said, not really. Those are just the facts. I am little. I can't do anything about that. He smiled wide and showed a mouthful of gorgeous, white, well kept teeth as he continued, I want you to sing at my wedding. I was taken aback. I said, you must not have talked to Trianne about that. I know she would die if she even knew you were having these thoughts. He said, one thing about me, as he stood and walked towards me, I know how to get what I want. Very seldom do I hear the word no. He was now standing directly in front of me, staring intensely into my eyes as he continued. Know what I mean? I can imagine that you don't hear no very much either. I played coy just like I wasn't following his conversation. I said, what makes you say that, Sam? He said, don't play. You know as well as I do what you have working in your favor. The Kool-Aid grin returned to his face. You are totally spoiled, and everyone around you treats you like a little girl. They are all at your beck and call. Your ex-boyfriend's parents and his brother, Waleed and his parents, your Uncle Joe, just everybody. They all seem to make sure you have what you need. I said, yes, I guess you're right on one hand. But on the other hand, my mother and my sister could care less if I dropped dead today. He grabbed me in an awkward embrace and said, that's part of why I'm here. I want to put an end to all of that as soon as possible. I can't stand family issues. They're really draining. His arms are resting at my shoulders and he was looking down on me. I said, really? So how was that little family tiff between Trianne and my mom concerning who was going to end up with you? Because that's the last I heard, they were fist fighting. He said not to worry. They are cordial. Your mom will even be at the wedding. So what's up? Are you going to be a good brother-in-law to me or what? Can we all just get along? He then swiftly slid his hands down and rested them on my behind. I am outdone. I looked up in his face and there was that dumbass grin. I said, so what you want is cooperation the whole way around. You want every family member to service you however you see fit. He responded, no, it's not that. I just want our lives to be easy. I said, I hope you don't think this bullshit is a good definition of easy. It seems more like you're trying to make a dick-hungry slut out of me. Why would I want to cooperate with you in this manner when you've already had cooperation from my sister and my mom? That ain't cool, Sam. He said, trust me, it'll be cool. Y'all don't even see each other enough for anyone to catch on. And real talk, he grabbed my hand and placed it on his totally erect penis. It's ecstasy. I puts it down with this snake. I immediately broke contact with him and said, okay, enough already. I don't like the way this is going. He interrupted. If you just chill right quick, all this snake could be going in your mouth. Is he serious? I was getting really irritated. I snapped. First of all, you keep talking about snakes, and I don't really like reptiles. And second, you're offering a snake, and all I felt was an average garden worm. The one thing I hate even more than reptiles is false advertisement. Did you know you could be sued for that? He stepped back as his eyebrows rose far up his forehead and he yelled, "Ah, bitch, you ain't all that now, and your mouth is a little too smart for you to be so little." I said, "Don't call me out of my name, punk ass. And what does my size have to do with anything? You wouldn't be up in my house trying to threaten me, would you, short dick?" His eyes were growing kind of wide as he responded, "I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just saying, you talk a lot of shit for a nigga that let another nigga run up in here. I'm positive you'll be sprung on this dick just like your sister is." I leaned my head to the side slightly and said, "Surely, if you were paying any attention, you would have noticed that my sister and I, no comparison. We are like night and day in most ways." He replied, "I know, and you got a fat ass, and I want some." Whew. I said, "Well, that's not possible." He combated, "Why not?" I smiled and said, "Let's just start with anatomy." He had a look of confusion come over his face as he said, "What?" I said, "The person with the biggest piece gets to be the top. That means I'm winning." He said, "Your mouth makes me want to slap you, then kiss the fuck out of you." Whew, he grabbed me tight and started trying to bite my neck. I was struggling to get loose when I heard the doorbell ring. I was so relieved. I broke free and headed for the door. As I reached the door and opened it, I was never so happy to see Sharif, ever. As he entered the doorway, he immediately seen Sam coming up the hallway, and I watched as his eyebrows rolled up into the "I have an attitude" range, and he said, "What's up, love?" I said, "Oh, wow. Long story. I am so happy to see you. I thought you were going to miss me. I'll be out of here soon." Sam said, "What's up, man?" as he shook Sharif's hand. Sharif reluctantly responded, "What's up?" As he stepped onto the porch, Sam said, "We can finish this another time, little dude. I'm not giving up on you." I said, "Why do I believe that?" Sharif abruptly said, "Yeah, all right, later for all that," as he pulled me into the house and slammed the door. He started in on me. "What the fuck is that? What was that lame doing over here?" I said, "Easy up, buddy. He actually came to ask me to sing at him and Trian's wedding." And he cut me off and blurted out, "And what else?" He was all grinned up and shit with that old "we can continue" blah. Fuck him. I said, "Hey, stop it right now and have a seat. I want to discuss something really important with you. Have a seat." He walked into the living room and sat down on the couch. I walked over and sat next to him on the couch. He stopped me and threw a strange look my way. I said, "What's that about?" He said, "My point exactly. I sat here waiting on you to lap up, and you sit next to me? Then this little stuff with old boy, come on, I'm starting to get heated." I got up and sat on his lap and said, "Better?" He said, "Absolutely." I started in. "Okay, Reef, we have to talk. I'm leaving at 6 o'clock to go back to school, but there are some things that I want to tie up before I go." He wrapped his arms around my waist and said, "What do you mean tie up, love?" I continued, "Last night, I had some time to really reflect on my position, and I don't like where I'm at. Usually, I see my life going in a direction that is not beneficial for me, and I get so caught up with the actual situation itself that I just continue, and then I have a very hard time once everything is all out of whack. Well, I'm not doing that this time. I refuse." He said, "Did I do something?" I said, "Well, yes and no." Silas entered the room, and Sharif just had his face resting on my back. I continued, "There was so much that went on this week that it was hard to take it all in. But like I said, last night I got a chance to really process what has been said and done. The biggest thing that has stuck out for me is the situation with Natty, you, and Ty. You have literally stated that you and Ty were sleeping with Natty. That really bothered me. He lifted his head and said, "Why does that bother you?" I got up off of his lap and stood in front of him and said, "I beg your pardon. Are you serious?" He was just sitting there with a puzzled look on his face. I could feel myself becoming very irritated. I think he noticed my irritation and figured he better start talking. He started, "That was before you, and I did anything." I yelled, "Reeve, that is not the point. You slept with your brother's girlfriend while they were together, and then you continued after they broke up? How do you know the baby isn't yours instead of Ty's?" He snapped, "You sound like my mama with that bullshit. She's talking about we need to get a blood test." I said, "She is right. That little girl has a right to know if you're actually her uncle or her father. And you should want to know too. What's wrong with you, Sharif? I don't understand. Do you have any feelings for Natty at all?" He said, "None. She is a decent piece of ass, and that's all." Silence fell. I couldn't move, and I couldn't say anything. I was appalled. He said, "Come on, sit back down, T." I said, "No, this is it. This is where I get off. I see where this is going to go, and I refuse to lose you like this. I'd rather give you up now and cut my losses." He stood up and grabbed me by my arms and said, "Ain't nobody leaving nobody. I'm not going to let you leave me like that." I said, "You don't have any other choice, Sharif. I can't go down that road with you. Ty cheated for the whole relationship, and now that it's evident and been proven, I forgave him and I let it go. What I'm not going to do is go into a relationship with you, having to forgive you for things questioning your motives right from the beginning. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't." He fired back, "You aren't totally innocent now. I came in here today and—" I cut him right off. "Stop. We're not doing it. You know nothing was going on. But if it had, I would not be right in line with your bullshit. So let's not bullshit each other and let's be to each other. Well, we've been a system of support and backup. I need my friend Sharif right now. Nothing else. Can you do that?" He looked very deflated as he answered, "I guess I have no other choice." I tried to fight it back, but one tear rolled down my face. He grabbed me and kissed me deeply. I gave in to the kiss, and I knew that was the last time. He broke the kiss and grabbed my face and said, "I do love you, LT, and I'm never going to give up on what we have, but I won't force you." He kissed my forehead and headed out the door. And to my surprise, I actually broke down in tears, sitting right there on the couch. I guess I was a little more invested than I thought. Once I pulled myself together, I packed my things in my Jeep and sat down in the game room until my parents got home. They were running a little late, but I wouldn't dare leave without them seeing me off. While I was waiting, I called Akai to thank her and the girls for coming and supporting me in my time of need. The funny thing is, when she told me that she didn't want to laugh, but the whole episode with Natty taking the plunge into the grave site was caught on someone's phone and had been placed on Facebook and YouTube. She said it was ridiculous how many hits and comments were listed about it. I found it quite amusing myself. She also shared that there were clips of me singing at church, and folks had made a lot of positive comments on those clips as well. Now, that was a little weird because I really have no interest in seeing that or reliving any of that. It was just too painful. I hung up with the car and told her that I'd see her shortly. I could hear Mama and Papa J coming in the front door. I met them in the hallway and told them that I had decided to get on my way back to school and I had been waiting on them. They sat me down to make sure that my mind was in the right space to take the drive alone, and they let me know, as usual, how much they loved me and told me to call as soon as I got there. We said our goodbyes, and I jumped in my Jeep, and I was on my way. I was a little behind my original departure time I said. It was about 6:45. As I pulled away from the house, I immediately noticed Sharif's Cadillac tailing behind me. Within moments, my cell phone rang. I answered and said, "Yes, Mr. Rudolphson." He said, "I knew you were just waiting for your parents. I've been at the top of the street waiting so that I could see you off. I told you, I'm not giving up on you. Not just yet. And for the record, that ass, that's mine. I definitely won't be allowing anyone to get close to that." I said, "Reeve, we are not going there. And nobody's trying to get at me. And I'm not trying to let anybody get at me. I want to be by myself. Seriously, I don't need all the complications." He replied, "Well, when you're ready, I'll still be here waiting. Period. I'm not going away. Done deal. I'm going to hang up, love. I'm going to follow you to the interstate to see you off. Please text me as soon as you pull up in front of your apartment. Will you do that?" I said, "Yes, Sharif." He said, "I love you, LT." I felt my body tense up as I fought back tears and listened to the phone line disconnect. He continued telling me to the interstate, just like he said, and as he turned off and I no longer seen his car, a tear escaped and ran down my cheek. I know he's not good for me, but it is so hard to cut him off. But I know it is what needs to be done. About 20 minutes into my drive, my phone rang. I thought it was Sharif. I didn't even look at the call ID when I answered. "What's up?" I heard, "Damn, did you know it was me?" I took a pause because at first I didn't catch the voice. Then I caught that it was Waleed. I lied and said, "Of course I knew it was you." He said, "Usually you answer the phone, you answer like you hate me and I'm getting on your nerves. When you just answered, you sound like the love of my life." I said, "Whatever, boy." He said, "Mom told me you were on your way back to school. I would have really liked to have seen you before you left, but that's okay. If you ever give me permission, I will drive up to see you when you have some time." I just didn't say anything. He said, "Boo Bear, are you there?" I said, "Yes, I hear you. We will see. I really have to concentrate on me. I'm going to be so far behind, but we'll see what happens." He said, "I'll accept that. Hey, T." I said, "Yes." He said, "I love the shit out of you, boy, and I'll never let go of what we have. Text me and let me know you made it home safely. Will you do that, boo?" I said, "I will." When it comes to the men in my life, my words seem to fall on deaf ears, and I believe it's because my actions don't always match. I'm getting stronger, but I know I have a lot to learn. Yet when it becomes to the matters of the heart, but I know I have a lot to learn yet when it comes to the matters of the heart. As I made my way back toward Jackson College, I sat and thought to myself, let's try this again. My first week being enrolled in college was not at all what I expected. Though I've learned more in this past week than any other, the funniest thing is I have yet to attend one college class. How was that possible? My gosh, this is a crazy life. What's next? And do I really want to know? The end. That right there is Learning Topaz. And it says, "Thank you for your continued support of this series, James Colwell." Baby, I am outdone. I am outdone. What do you guys think of this series of Loving Topaz, Losing Topaz, and Learning Topaz? That was so good. It was very much so a roller coaster. Told you guys it's a roller coaster ride. I did not expect the things to happen that happened. I'm going to drop the link for anyone that wants to come up and have a discussion. We can talk about what you just heard if you have not read the other series, the books in this series. But yes, it was Shadia. The reflection was good, and he realized, hey, TC, he realized that, you know, And I think for a lot of us, because I know at one point in time, my nose meant yes to somebody, you know what I'm saying? Until I really had to stand firm on no. And then when you really stand firm on your no, then you know they have no choice but to take it. You know, yes, we do need another book from Topaz. Thank you so much, Aisha. But yes, I had a really good time reading this book series. Really learning Topaz. Like all three books. Yeah, James, you see this, honey? They asking for another book. Now he did say he was gonna have another book by the end of the year. Now, I don't know if it's really going to be a sequel, prequel, another part to the series. I don't know if it's going to be part of that, but we got to figure out what Topaz is doing over at Jackson College. But this was really, I mean, I guess in some sense you can see yourself, not necessarily in the acts that they were doing, but, you know, like the reflection, like he said, sometimes our words don't match up with our actions, and some people, they see that, and so they do take advantage of that. But at that point, do you blame the people or do you blame yourself? Because they can only go off of the actions that you're showing. Yeah, your words say one thing, but you're walking out something totally different. So at that point, do we blame them for treating us the way that we allow them to treat us? I say no. You know, when I said no and everything else said yes, it was my fault. So same way with him. If you guys did not catch the other books, because this is a 3-part series, you can go back to my playlist. I have each one of them in the playlist. So you will start off with Loving Topaz, then you will go to Losing Topaz, and then you will end with Learning Topaz. I also have them over on my podcast, anchor.fm/Almond Brown 09. You guys can catch that over there. If you have gotten this far into the broadcast and you have not subscribed to Almond Brown 09, why? Why? Make sure you guys subscribe to Almond Brown 09. Yes, Melissa, we do need to find out about Uncle Joe. I thought it was gonna be something. Maybe that is, yes, Purple Peach. Maybe that's what he's writing next. James, are you listening? Because Uncle Joe still got something going on and we need to know. Okay. Do I need to help you write that part of the story? Because I can. Because it's somewhere, you know. Would you say we're all sub? Thank you. All my Almond Delights. Listen, while I'm giving y'all my church announcements and still talking, I want you guys to please drop your chocolate and sun emojis in the chat. If you can't find those emojis in your phone or on your laptop, please drop a heart. And the chocolate and the sun emojis are what we use over here that represent love and light. And that's what we spread to one another over here. Yes, he said he listening, y'all. He listening. He said he listening. I only caught today's read. Topaz was in such complex situations, there's no way to identify one set of feelings. Aisha, girl, you need to go back to the beginning. Look, go back to the beginning. Go back to Loving Topaz so you can see how it all unfolds and you will figure out who all the characters are, especially Waleed, because you see this now, but you got, girl, go back. That's all I can say. Aisha, go back, okay? If y'all have not caught this from the beginning of the series, the 3-part series, please go back. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. James did a really good job of writing this book. Also, you can check out his other books that I read, Between Pews. Listen, but you can start out with Between Pews first, because Between Pews, Topaz make an appearance in there first, and then it kind of goes on into the Topaz series. Baby, listen, Pastor Del Pew is still my favorite character in the Between Pews, honey. I love her with her animated behind. But also you can check out Boys Like Me. I also read that's another book from James. And our next read, so we don't have a break in our Almond Delights Reading Corner. Hey, Pooh Bear. We will be reading next Love and Gospel Music. What's wrong with telling the damn truth? by a novel by Uncle Timothy Blaine. So this is Timothy Blaine's book. We will begin reading this next week. Y'all know how it goes. The Almond Delights Reading Corner. We will read for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we will have a 15-minute discussion. But I had to give you guys the rest of this book this week because y'all know yesterday was a whole lot of. But you felt bad for Topaz. Girl, will start from the beginning. And you will really see. You will really see. I was across the pond, so time zones were hard to catch live readings. Oh, okay, but watched all the replays, and I'm back in Cali, so I'm here. Yes, TC, welcome back. I'm glad you got back safely. Yes. Did you read Between Pews? Yes, I did read Between Pews, Melissa. It is on. It's in the playlist, so you guys can check my page. My home. I think it's on the home page. And Between Pews is in the playlist. Boys Like Me is also in the playlist. Loving Topaz, Losing Topaz, and Learning Topaz. I also read Uncle Timothy's other book, Lord Jesus, The Epiphany. That's also in a playlist. So all of my reads are in the playlist. So you can hit play all, and it will play from beginning to the end. And you guys will really, I'm telling y'all really gonna enjoy it. And so I have not read this book either. I do not read the books. For those of you that may be listening to me read for the first time, I do not read the books beforehand. So all of the emotions and everything that you guys see are raw emotions, and I read it here with you guys. Once I finish with the book, I sit it on my nightstand and I don't pick it back up until I finish reading, until I start my next read. So yes, and please check in the description box below. You can get all of his books are on Amazon. And it's Kindle. Some of the versions are free on Kindle. Otherwise, the books are $14.95 if I'm not mistaken on Amazon. And I would suggest you just buy the book. And this is a nice size, with book. It's a nice book or whatnot. But I like hard copies. That's why I did not get the Kindle. I love hard copy books. So this will be going on my bookshelf. But you guys, please go do that. And also, I will try to remember to drop the link for Uncle Timothy's book, Love and Gospel Music. You guys can go in and purchase this book as well. And it's also on Amazon. So you guys can go and purchase that. I think it's available on Kindle. I'm not sure how much it was on Kindle. You do such a good job. You be catching. Listen, thank you. And when they start singing, I'll be trying to. I ain't no singer, but I carry a little tune in the bucket. It may be halfway full, but I'm carrying the bucket. Okay, I'm carrying it. Okay, I just I give you guys every bit of essence of the book, the cussing, the everything that comes along with it. Somebody asked me why don't I beep it out or pause, I guess, when they start to cuss. And at first I thought about that, but it looks weird if I was to just mouth no. So I just pray afterwards because yeah. I have to pray afterwards. Baby, I'll be sitting up here rocking like, Lord Jesus, what is he doing to me? I'm over here clutching my invisible, these ain't pearls, but they, yeah. Clutching my invisible cubics. That's what I'm clutching. You're welcome, Spirit Boy. Yes. So, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the read. Please come back. Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. You didn't have to do it, but you did. I appreciate you for that. And thank you for the Cash App. I'm sorry, I can't, I don't call people names out, but thank you for the Cash App. I'm looking down at my phone down there. I can see the notification at the top. Cussing ain't never kept the soul out of heaven. Girl, but them convictions be strong, child. Them convictions be strong, baby. It comes in Kindle. Yes, both of their books comes in Kindle and playback. So and paperback. So if you do have Kindle, it's $0. But buy the paperback, okay? Support our authors and just buy the paperback. Okay. We appreciate you for doing so. Like I said, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit your notification bell so you'll get all your notifications when I upload. Friday nights, we have our Friday night red light special over here, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back here talking about love, sex, relationships, sex toys, all that other stuff we talk about. And it is an open panel and also a judge-free zone. So, honey, come with your comments and everything because it is very interactive, honey. Very interactive. It is an open panel. So we do get guests that come up on the panel. You do not have to show your face. Just don't show nothing else. Okay. And but you can also chat down in the chat and ask questions and everything else like that. So and then I do my carpools in the mornings when I go to work. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, okay, because I be tired. But yeah, so y'all may catch me in the morning or you may not. She said, "Loose here, be free, sis." Listen, I am free. Praise the Lord, I'm free. Girl, no longer bound, no more chains holding me. Let me stop, girl. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed the read. I hope you guys enjoyed this 3-part series. If you have not caught the beginning, please go back and listen, like I said, or go catch it over on my podcast. You can listen to it in your car, and it streams on all streaming platforms. So go ahead and, help your girl out, and it's free to listen, but you can also pledge a monthly love offering of 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99, whichever one your heart desires, whichever way the Lord leads you. But like I said, it's appreciated, but not required. If you are an author or an author, you can contact me at almondbrown09@gmail.com, and you can put your book in rotation over here at the Almond Delights Reading Corner. You can also send your book if you have a book. You can send it to Almond Brown 09, P.O. Box 1058, STARKE, STARKE, Florida 32091. And I will put your book into rotation. If y'all know MC Shaky, MC Shaky has a book out. Now, he wrote the book back in 2018, but I think people are still buying the books, which is fine by me, But if y'all know him on Instagram or over here on the YouTube streets, please shout your girl Almond Brown 09 out and ask him, can we read his book over here? Now, the book is only 55 pages long, so it won't take us long to read it. Maybe one night, I don't know. But y'all go over there and hit him up if you do not mind and say, listen, our girl has something going on over here at the Almond Delights Reading Corner, because most of y'all and the ones that have told me, y'all do still purchase the books, even though you hear me reading it here. And I appreciate you for that. Okay, so y'all go hit up MC Shaky and okay, Fifi, y'all go hit up MC Shaky and ask him, can we read his book over here? Okay. And I would purchase the book myself, because that's what I do. I purchase the books. The books are not handed to me. These videos are not sponsored. So, I pay for the material on my own because I am reading material that is copywritten, but they give me permission to read it. So don't you try it if you do not get permission. Okay? Because he will take you down. Ain't that right, James? If you still here. But anyways, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, Purple Peach. Yes, girl, go get him. That book is hot and heavy. Oh, you talking about MC Shaky's on? I saw somebody give a review on it, so I was like, "Ooh, that look okay." Ooh, you know what I'm saying? I might want to read that. So look, he say will do, okay? Cause see, I asked, and then other people asked along with it. So I'm a little special. But I'm gonna talk to y'all later, y'all. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. It's almost the next day, honey. And the reading corners are never this long, honey. We're only on for an hour, but I had to give you guys a special treat with the rest of this book. So I love you guys. I will talk to you guys later. Y'all sleep well. I love you guys with the love of God, and there is nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to y'all later, child. Bye. Thank you all for joining another episode of Almond Delights Reading Corner. I pray that you enjoyed yourself and you're relaxing your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. Come back and join us again next week as we continue our reading. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Be blessed and enjoy your evening.